On behalf of your host, Steve D, this is Bruce Buffer saying thank you for tuning in to Xtreme Lyfe. And now, this is the moment Xtreme Lyfe fans around the world have been waiting for. It's time!
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm well. It's been a little while. Things been going good.
Yeah, I was out of commission there for a bit, but
Yeah. Let's talk about that. I mean, you came off, after your last fight, I think it was, you had some injuries that you were addressing, and you went and you had surgery. And what does that look like? I mean, I know you have a pretty extensive amateur career right now. You're talking about turning pro, and you had to take a step back. I know you had a lot of momentum going forward, and then you get injured, obviously, and then you have to take a step back. So what does that look like?
Eric, sorry.
It's all right.
So
I got to. It's okay.
So I had obviously I had those 3 neck surgeries there in like a short span of time.
Yeah.
It sucked because I had my shoulder surgery, and I only got to fight twice before we found out I needed I was having spinal cord damage.
Yeah.
So it sucked because I was hoping after my shoulder surgery I would get to go on like a run and have it be uninterrupted for a little bit, but that didn't happen. And it was hard to kind of accept.
Yeah.
I had to have 2 of the girls that I trained with down in St. Louis kind of reason with me because I was trying to spar with them. And I was getting dropped, but not knocked out. It was just the damage would kind of put me down when I would get hit just right.
Yeah.
And I was trying to avoid the whole surgery thing, right? So one of them was that's not normal. You cannot continue to you need to get that fixed. So
yeah, I
was trying to fight it for as long as I could, but she really kind of put it into perspective for me. And seeing how worried they were about it, I was like, okay, maybe I'm being stupid. This isn't something I can keep doing. So
yeah, sometimes it takes somebody else to kind of say, you know what, wake up, wake the fuck up. You're not doing something right. And you're going to end up, think about those injuries. And if you're anything like me, is I try to push through injuries all the time. That's what I do. I just push through them. And someone once told me there's a difference between being injured and being hurt. If you're hurt, keep going. If you're injured, well, go see somebody and get it taken care of. You know what I mean? It's tough though, but it's hard for somebody who's just wants to keep pushing.
Yeah. And I felt like I just got back, and I have a hard time just even mentally with through my shoulder surgery. I had a really hard time mentally. It was very hard for me to not be able to do the things that I'm used to doing, to have to sit home and do nothing and just kind of really sit with yourself, you have nothing to do and you just have to sit in a room by yourself all day, every day.
With
mentally
yourself.
That was, with yourself and your thoughts. And, so that was really hard for me during the shoulder surgery. So that's why I was really trying to avoid doing this again. Cause I was I didn't deal with that well. I didn't deal with being out and not being able to train or even work or any, I went from being busy 24/7 to having nothing to do. And that was difficult. So I was really trying to avoid doing it like that again, but I fought with my neck injury, and it was easily the most nerve-wracking fight, right? I'm usually not that nervous, but I was pretty nauseous before this fight because I was I knew the condition I was going into, but I won. So that's cool because, nobody wants to hear the excuses after you lose, but
and you beat
I won
the hell
that.
out of that girl. I can't remember was her name Claire, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah. You beat the hell out of her leg. I remember.
Well, I was just trying to stay the hell away from her. Honestly, like I was like, if I get hit, I'm gonna look like a jackass. Like I'm gonna get dropped, and I'm gonna look like an asshole. You know?
Yeah. So you're trying real hard to avoid that situation.
Yep. I was like, I'm just gonna try to stay.
I just don't want to look like a jerk. It's hard going into a fight. It's hard enough going into a fight, but going into a fight with like, I just don't want to look stupid.
Yeah, that's really what it was. I was like, if I just don't get dropped the way that I do, like that, that jolt, if I don't get that in this fight, then that's a win for me.
Yeah.
But luckily I was able to come out on the winning end of that. So, but after, that's how much I was trying to avoid the surgery. Cause after that was when I went down to go spar with those girls and I got dropped again and they were like, what the fuck are you doing? And
yeah.
So in hindsight, I got really, really lucky. I didn't get more seriously hurt, but yeah, it's been a process. It's been a road. It's been like a year and 3 months by the time I step back in the cage, or 2 months or something.
Yeah. And you got a fight coming up. I know that. And we'll talk about that in a second. But I watched, cause you're very, you're on social media. You're very kind of like, I don't think you hold back a lot. I've heard a lot of your monologues or rants, as you like to call
my Rachel rants.
Rachel rants, as you like to call them. I think you're very, you just put it all out there on the line. And I watched some of your recovery process, and I can imagine it was very difficult for you to take that step back, not get in the cage, not do any, rolling or any striking or anything like that for a period of time. And then I know, you were talking about it. You were still, I think, in the hospital, are recovering very early on, already kind of saying, I want to start moving around, so. Yeah.
And I mean, my doctor really understood, because he was a surgeon for, people on the Packers and stuff like that. So he gets athletes. He understands we're not going to follow all the rules. We're not going to sit still. We're going to try to push it and get back as fast as we can. So he was being really realistic with me. When I was, I want to start trying to do this. He wouldn't just be like, no, you can't, it's too early. He would kind of guide me on the correct ways to do things.
Yeah.
So that I didn't get more hurt, but he didn't just go, no, you can't do that. Cause realistically, he knows we're going to anyway, so.
Yeah. If you're anything like, I would say I'm a surgeon's worst nightmare when it comes to recovery and stuff, because I had wrist surgery a while back, and they were like, yeah, you can't do anything for 6 weeks that has to do with that wrist. And I remember, people saying you're an idiot to me because I was doing pull-ups 2 weeks into the,
well, and also, it's how you feel. I understand healing is healing, but you can't tell. Neck surgeries are usually for older people, right? Typically, when you're having disc issues, that's an older thing. That's not.
Somebody who's my age, right?
I mean, I don't know how old you are, but maybe. But it's so to tell me that this is the cut and dry healing time, and the fact that I'm young and the fact that I'm an athlete isn't going to make a difference, that it takes what it takes regardless, that's bullshit. Yeah. I'm going to heal faster than somebody who's older. That's just the nature of it, So, when they're like, oh, for 8 weeks you can't do anything. Yeah, well, I know that I'm going to heal faster than the textbook stuff because I take very good care of my body, and I'm young. I have age on my side for this, so he really did take it as me as an individual and how I was progressing, and gave me guidelines for that. So he was great.
Which is really what you want to do with somebody who's an athlete, somebody who's athletes in general don't sit well, right? We don't like you said, sitting with yourself. In your thoughts and your, I'm an athlete myself, so I get it. I think I've gotten a little better with it as I've gotten older. I'll be 50 this year, which is crazy for me to even think about. But, it's as I got older, I started to, be able to do that a little bit more. I still have a lot of trouble doing it. I can't sit for long. But most athletes, it's, I think a good doctor, a good surgeon who's going to work with athletes has to understand that you're not dealing with a normal human. You're dealing with a human that's kind of geared a little differently. They don't watch TV all weekend and hang out on the weekend. Yep. They're moving, they're doing shit. They're
the most stressful thing I do in a day is not vacuuming or doing a lawn. For the normal average person, that's the most difficult thing of their day is cleaning their house, right? That's obviously not the most difficult thing I do in a day. Yeah. So you have to guide me to getting back to that. Cause the surgeon who did my shoulder was not one for athletes. And so I did the physical therapy because everyone was like, don't be you, do the physical therapy, right? You don't know better than doctors.
Don't
whatever.
be you.
Don't be me. So like I went and I did like 6 or 8 weeks of physical therapy on my shoulder. Yeah. And at the end of it, I couldn't even fucking pick up a goddamn laundry basket. I'm like, how was that worth anything?
Yeah.
So I started going to like a sports rehab person, and he got me all fixed up, and I was able to like, do lift weights and strike and hit a bag and stuff pain free, but like I was following the doctor's orders. He was saying, because he was giving me instructions for everybody, blanket instructions for the normal person. Yeah. If you are a normal human being, right? You're not an athlete, you're just an average everyday person. I'm sure physical therapy gets you back to where you left off. But like when you're an athlete, you need more than that. You need therapy geared towards what you do.
No, it's absolutely true. I mean, and that's where I think a lot of doctors kind of fall short, right? They kind of use the same. They have this is our modality. This is what we do. And they kind of just put it, they overlay everybody with it. Right.
They do. The doctor that did my shoulder and my first neck surgery, they were part of like a practice. They were part of like a hospital that does this stuff. The doctor who did my neck surgery that like fixed me, he owns his own practice. He has a vested interest in you leaving there with a really good, like,
good outcome,
right? Because it's his business. Yep. It's not just like he gets to phone it in and regardless, like the hospital has insurance and he could give a shit less, right? Because that's kind of the vibe I got from the ones that work for like the hospital, right? So
they're under the umbrella of the hospital, and a lot of times they are restricted by the hospital, right? The hospital has their guidelines and they say, here's what you have to do for this, rather than treat everybody like an individual. I come from the school of thought where everybody is an individual, and it's called client-centered therapy, right? You center your therapeutic measures against what that person's going to do well with, not what everybody does,
Right.
So that's the better way to go, but not all the time. Hospitals kind of have their blanket statements and blanket kind of treatment plans that they kind of throw on top, and unfortunately, there's outliers, right? Like an athlete is an outlier. You're somebody who's performing at a much higher level.
Yep.
So
I'm very happy with the outcome though. Like the hardest part of getting over this was all in my head, right? Like and honestly, like even still recently, I struggle with some of it, but like it's accepting that I'm okay to be hit now, or I'm okay to like grapple and I don't have to like be as paranoid. That's been the hardest part, was all in my head.
Yeah. So. It's that psychological thing that happens when you're an injured athlete and you've been injured for a long time. Like, you see that a lot with people who have dealt with injuries and didn't get them treated for like years. It takes longer for them to get over that psychological aspect of trying to protect that side or that area of the body, or worrying about what might happen if, and that's I think the toughest piece to get over.
It is. And honestly, I beat myself up about it, but I guarantee it's everybody. It's everybody who deals with this. They all struggle to get over that.
You are absolutely not the only one who has dealt with that situation. Because like I said, you see it all the time. So let's get into, how do you feel now? You said you feel pretty good. How's training going?
Training's going great. Every once in a while I still get in my head about it. It's natural. But I'm doing, like, I feel fine. Like I really don't have much of an issue doing anything. Mm-hmm. So that part's been going really good. I actually just moved. I moved to Iowa, so I'm training at a different gym now.
Okay.
And there's a lot more people my size, and that's awesome. Like that right there eliminates so much injury, right? Because me trying to take people down that are like 200 plus pounds or getting hit, but even going lightly, somebody who's 200 pounds, that's dangerous, right? Like, what if I move into it, which happens? I move my face in front of a lot of punches. Yeah. Watch my fights. You'll see it, right?
You got to get out of the way of those. You don't want to put your face there.
I swear to God, sometimes I move, like I move my head, but I move straight down the line I don't understand, but.
So
So, going with
something to work on.
going with the people, at this gym, they're my size. So even it allows me also to get a little bit more out of my head, right? Because I know if this person hits me, it's not going to be the most detrimental thing that happens, right? Like they're my size. It's equal. Yeah. They're not 200 pounds. So being at this new gym has been really helpful for this camp. It was stressful because I kind of moved during my camp at the very beginning of it. So I was moving, trying to get organized, trying to find a routine while being in camp. So while trying to get all the training sessions in and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So for a bit there, it was rough, difficult. And I'm a creature of habit. I like my routines. I like every day going a certain way. So like for me, that was really rough, but we're settled in, we're good. And I haven't missed a single training session since I've been down here, not a single class, not a single fight team. I've been at all of them. So I've kind of found my rhythm now.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think that's so important to find the right place to train with the right group of people. That's the thing. People, I think they underestimate sometimes how important a team is, right? Because your team is really what gets you ready for the fight. That gets you set up. Those are the people who support you in the fight. A lot of times they're the ones who are cornering you in the fight as well. And
consistency.
Having
the a lot like at the gym I was at, and I'm not trashing the gym, right? But there were people who would come in, they'd come in for their fight. They're not my size anyways, but they would come in for their fight and then their fight would be over and then they would disappear. Whereas me and one of the other coaches, like that, those are the fighters, me and him, they're every day. Come hell or high water, whether we have a fight or not, every day, just like a job, you're there. Yeah. So, but it's just me and him. So he was like really my main training partner. And even he was like 190 pounds. But all the other ones would just kind of disappear, and then they'd get a fight and they'd come back, and then they would fight and they'd disappear. Whereas down here, like it's a really more geared towards like a fighter gym. So like these people are like-minded, right? You don't take jobs that keep you from training. You don't do anything that interferes with that. This is the priority. So it's a lot of like-minded individuals. So that like the consistency, just having partners that are going to be there every day is important.
And I think that's what you see in all the like really high level MMA gyms or fighting gyms. It's not, people don't just show up for their camp. You know what I mean? They show up.
No, because when do you get better? A camp is for getting conditioning, your cardio up, and getting your weight down. That's what a camp is for. Yep. A camp isn't to learn shit. If you're learning shit, well, not like nothing, but a camp isn't to improve, right? That's not the point of a camp.
Yep.
A camp is to kind of get prepared for a certain person and get your weight down and all that. You should be making improvements and getting better in between fights. That's when you do it.
Yeah. Yeah. You're so-called the off season, right? It's not really off because you're not really off, but you're more or less just working on your skill, honing your abilities, not worried about cutting weight. You're not worried about one specific individual. You're kind of working on your grappling. You're working on your striking, and that's why I say it's important when you have that consistency in the gym. And like I said, when you have a high level gym, most of the high level gyms, that you see, I know at Law MMA or down at in Florida, down at American Top Team. I mean, those guys are in the gym all the time. They're not just there for their camp. They're there consistently, constantly working and getting better every day.
As you should. Like this, if you're going to go anywhere in this with fighting and you're going to do something with it, like if it's just something you want to do once or twice, I mean, and there are people like that. They just want to do it, like a bucket list thing. And it's not something they're trying to make a career out of. I get that. But if it's something that you're trying to make a career out of, or you want to do long-term, you can't just do it. You can't part-time it. You can't phone it in. You have to get better, because everyone else this sport is getting so big. Like people aren't just good at one thing anymore, right? They might have a specialty, but you're good at everything. And then you have like your niche, right? Back in the day, it was like this person was a grappler, and this person was a striker. Now everybody knows everything, and it's a lot of information to take in. You can't part-time that.
No. And you're absolutely right. I mean, I actually talk with a lot of athletes about that. It's like the evolution of MMA. where if you remember back in the day, if you, I don't know how far back you can remember on this, because you're probably very, very young when,
Just a baby.
Yeah, you were a baby when this stuff all started. But, MMA, it was like the grappler against the wrestler or the shoot fighter against the grappler it
was like rock,
striker.
paper, scissors every time you fought. Yeah. It was like this person versus this person who,
And there were really no real, it was interesting because I remember there were no gloves in the beginning too. It was it was basically
people were wearing their gis. They were wearing their gis into the fights.
Hoist Gracie used to come in his gi. He would wear a gi. I remember I just rewatched it. Actually, it's a long fight, but Ken Shamrock versus Hoist Gracie, which is like, I think UFC 3. And there was also UFC 1 too, which was them as well, I believe. I think they fought twice in the early days of UFC, and they were like 45 minutes they're rolling around. And I remember asking Ken, I said, Ken, what was it like, rolling with Hoist Gracie? Because to me, that would be like, that's got to be freaking incredible. You're rolling.
I would feel like I'd get schooled for sure.
You would absolutely get owned every step.
You'd be like, God damn, I suck. Maybe I should do something different.
Well, that's kind of like, that's kind of where you get. What do you expect from like the guy who pretty much is, him and Hicks and Gracie were like the two guys that really kind of brought it forward. But, he said to me, he's like, Hoist doesn't move that much, but things just get tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter until you're kind of like
a snake.
Until you're fucking strangled. That's kind of what his thought was on that. And Ken's no slouch. He's a great wrestler. That's where he comes from, but wrestling and jujitsu, they're similar skills sometimes, but there's a lot of differences as well in how you move. But yeah, it's definitely, you cannot be that one-dimensional fighter anymore. You can't be that person who says,
get away with it.
Because you may not be able to take the person. Like, let's say I go in there, I'm a jujitsu expert. I walk in there and I go after somebody and I'm trying for the takedown. What if I can't get it? I have to be able to strike. I have to be able to strike. If someone's really good at stuffing the takedown and it don't go to the ground, I got a problem. I'm going to be on my feet and I'm going to get my ass kicked.
Yeah, and that's like Ronda, right? Like her shit was new, and that's why she made it as far as she did, being a kind of a one-trick pony.
Yeah, armbar.
She made it that far, and then people figured it out. And that's the same thing that's going to happen with all these wrestlers too, that are like just trashing everybody, right?
Yep.
They're dominant now because it's new for somebody to be so good in that kind of pressure. But people are going to figure it out, and they're going to start learning how to counter that. And then there's going to be a new wave, right? So like for now.
Well, right now it's the Dagestani grappling right now.
Right.
Is the
pressure that's insane.
Yeah. They drop you to the ground and they maul you. Really is what happens. The thing about those guys though, is they can strike a bit too, which is, some of those guys can hit, but it's like, once they get you to the ground and flatten your hips out, you're pretty much done. It's a done deal. They get those legs around you and then they're basically like kind of owning you at that point. And it's really hard to get out of, right? So, look at Cosma, first Burns. He couldn't do what he did to everybody to Burns. Like, no.
He wasn't able to do the same shit, right? Because people are figuring it out.
Yeah.
So, and arguably, in my opinion, I don't think that Cosma won that fight, but obviously my opinion doesn't matter. There's 3 people in the whole world whose opinion mattered, and they were the judges.
Yep.
But in my opinion, Burns won that fight. But
maybe.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like he wasn't able to just maul him and lay on him and stuff. He wasn't able to do that. It didn't work.
Yeah.
People are gonna see that. They're gonna kind of emulate what Burns did, or
take it a step further.
Yeah, or take it a step further, and then that shit's going to fade out. You're not going to see people being able to just hold people down for 3 rounds. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, the only thing I got to say, though, is the one person who really, Khabib Nurmagomedov was the one who kind of put that on the map, right?
Yeah.
And he won 30 fights without losing.
Doing and exactly honestly, though, like, to me, he is the elite at doing exactly that. Like, Cosmot's not on that level, like he was the best of the best at it. So, and he left. He's retired before everyone could figure it out. So he gets to ride that off into the sunset.
And that's pound for pound, probably the best at that weight division ever. He's definitely the GOAT in my opinion. But but I've watched him. if you ever watch some of the videos that he's put out, like against like just wrestlers that have come out to train with him, Division I, like monster wrestlers, and he just owns them. He owns them on the ground. I mean, there's nothing anybody can.
I've watched a couple of them.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing anybody can do about it. It's just like he gets you there, you're just screwed. So you might as well just go home. You're screwed at that point.
Can you imagine? I couldn't imagine somebody being like, "Hey, do you want to wrestle with Khabib?" I'd be like, "No, I don't.
No,
I have no desire to do that.
It's just going to be terrible for me."
I'm just going to take the little bit of self-esteem that I have. I'm going to hang on to it.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's definitely the best at what he, what he does. I mean, that's definitely, and nobody was able to figure that out. And you're absolutely right with Ronda. Ronda had that one move. She's great at judo. I mean, she's an amazing judo expert, no doubt about it. But once they figured out how to avoid that throw and that arm bar.
Yeah. Oh, look what happened to her.
That was a wrap.
Got knocked out. Yeah.
Holly Holm knocked her out. And then you had, that fight with friggin' when she came back and fought Amanda Nunes, that she didn't even look like
how is that a comeback off a loss type fight? That's not, you know what I'm saying? Usually when you come back from a loss, they give you somebody a little manageable. They gave her fucking Nunes. They didn't give her a goddamn chance.
No, they
find her rhythm.
I think they just wanted to prove a point to her at that point. I think
she must have pissed somebody off, because you get knocked out by Holly Holm and then your return fight off your loss is Nunes,
who's probably who's no joke as a jiu-jitsu expert and no joke as a striker. I mean, she's definitely solid, no joke. She's solid all the way around. I mean,
and hits like a fucking man, like hits like a freight train.
She knocks people out, and she made Ronda look like she didn't even belong in the ring. In the cage.
Well, and Ronda's striking doesn't belong in, like, it's not UFC level striking by any means. No.
So did you see Venezuela said something about Ronda?
I can't fucking talk about her. I knew this was going to get brought up, and I don't give a shit. I fucking hate Pena as a person, as a fighter. Like, I know women are supposed to support women and all that shit. I don't like her.
Well, there's two sides of that. You know that, right? There's two sides. Women are supposed to support women, but then there's also that catty aspect too. Where,
well, here's my thing.
Yeah.
Here's my thing. Pena doesn't support. Pena talks shit about every female fighter, so I don't feel bad about not liking her at all. Also, she's kind of under the affiliate umbrella from the gym that I trained at up in Wisconsin, like LCCT, the jiu-jitsu. That's her jiu-jitsu coach, Luis Claudio and Tiago Vega. They are my coach's coach, right? Okay. So we're under this loose affiliate umbrella, and they did like a seminar. Tiago and them did a seminar, and we had some of our kids' students go to it and stuff like that. And she was like an asshole to these children. And I'm like, and then she was talking shit about like Ronda, and it way back when, and it was like about her arms or something like that. Some physical feature you can't change. What the fuck is that? You want to talk shit about her fighting? Talk shit about her fighting. I get it. That's the sport. But like, to bully somebody and then also to just be a shit person in person. Yeah. Like and also her striking can eat shit. I know she rocked Nunes or whatever. I don't give a fuck. Like, who punches like their elbows just clear out to here?
Well, I'm curious to see what happens when they do a rematch. I'm really curious to see.
I
think Nunes comes back and owns her.
I hope she knocks her the fuck out.
I think she might. I think that might be. I think she might, but the reason I brought it up is I just literally like a week or two ago read an article where she was calling out Ronda Rousey, and I'm like, Ronda Rousey. Yeah,
she's like, if you want to come, like for what? For what? And you want to know what would make me happier than anything in the world?
Ronda came back and kicked the shit out of her.
Back and armbarred Pena. That would make my damn day. Well, and like, it probably won't happen, but she's talking shit. The girl.
Like, plays video games now, and she wrestles. That's what she does.
Who gives a shit? Like, she went as far as she felt that, and this is for anybody who ends their career.
I think we're turning into a Rachel rant here.
Yeah, we are. Damn it. Well, you brought up Pena. What am I supposed to do? I hate the girl. She went as far as she felt. Like, okay, she went to the top, and she stayed at the top for a while. And yeah, we get it. It was because she had this niche that nobody figured out. but then she lost and she chose to go do something different with her life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
Like, what she has to, who does she have to prove herself to? Us? Who the fuck are we?
No, she
like,
shit about us. I mean, that's the thing.
If she wants to go make a bunch of money wrestling, do I respect it? No, I like me personally, I would have done it differently. I would have tried to come back and get back on top, right? But that's me. That's not her. She had millions and millions of dollars from being in the UFC, and she chose to go make a bunch more somewhere else. And how am I supposed to like judge her for that?
I think she's just trying to make a living now. She's just trying to get her life where she wants it, and she could care less at this point. And I think yeah, good for her. And the tone of the article was, she needs to come back and prove herself. How do you go out like that? It's like, no, she doesn't. She's had enough. She was the one. And here's the thing, no matter what you think around Ronda Rousey and her style, if it wasn't for Ronda Rousey, no women would be fighting.
We wouldn't be
UFC.
Nobody would care.
And that's what it comes down to. So she led the way for everybody else.
But that's the kind of disrespect that like Pena just oozes. And I get her point. I do. I see where, but we all handle things differently, right? Like some of us handle loss and we come back and we try to prove ourselves or prove it to ourselves. And then some of us just go, maybe this isn't for me. And maybe they're fucking right. And who cares? Let whoever, it's not your career. Cool. Yeah. Maybe you don't retire off losses then. Maybe when it's your time and you lose, you come back and prove yourself, right? But you don't get to dictate what somebody else does with their career or their life. And who are you to fucking bully them for it?
Well, and that's the thing, remember Ronda did come back. She did her thing and it didn't work out. So
she got Nunes.
Yeah, she got Nunes and just got friggin' annihilated. But, but that's, maybe that was enough for her. Maybe she said, you know what? This shit just ain't for me anymore. I'm tired of getting punched in the face.
Well, okay. And who's
go ahead.
McGregor. Who's talking shit about McGregor? He's on like a losing streak, right? But like he is. He's got millions of dollars.
Yeah. So he don't give a fuck.
I was gonna say, you think he wakes up every fucking day feeling bad about it? Probably not. He probably goes out on his fucking boat in the ocean and drinks fucking margaritas and shit, more relaxed than all of these struggling fighters who are getting knocked out every other fucking weekend, right? Like,
yeah.
And Ronda did the same thing. She got 2 losses and she decided maybe this isn't for me. McGregor's losing left and right and nobody's trashing him. No. Well, I mean, there probably are, but nobody cares. Like he's such
I'm sure he don't give a shit. I mean, he's sitting there with his $100 million going
knocking out old men in pubs and shit. Like that's what McGregor's doing.
Well, I think that's the only time he gives a shit. Like if you're in a pub or something and he's had a few and you've had a few and you start talking shit, then I think McGregor might punch you in the face, but that's about it, I think. Yeah.
And like Ronda chose to just quietly go off into a different direction. She's not causing any goddamn problems. Like
for her,
just leave her the fuck alone. Honestly, like don't call her out. You want to call somebody out who has a genuine chance of beating you. I'd have way more respect for that.
No, I think Nunes is going to come back and
God, I hope
prove her point. I just think Nunes was going through some shit during that fight.
And that's what I said. She seemed she had a baby and she was like kind of she was in a different place. Going on.
She was in a different place, and that's okay. Not everybody could be 100% every damn day, and that's just the way it is. But I mean, if you're listening, Ronda, please come back and knock the shit out of Pena so that we all can laugh about it.
Yeah,
that would make everybody's day. But
I'm very vocal about my hate for Pena.
That's all right.
And I really can't think of any other female fighter I don't like that I dislike. I mean, there's some that I'm just not a fan of, but like as far as Betch, I didn't like Betch either, but
that brings up an interesting thing. Who would, if you had a fight, a dream fight, what would be your dream fight? Who would it be against? I guess in your strawweight, right? So in the strawweight division, who would you fight? Or in any division, I guess.
I was gonna say I'm flyweight, but flyweight now. Sorry. I was strawweight, but too many close calls on that. So flyweight, let's see. I mean, who isn't Valentina everybody's dream fight?
Yeah.
Like I know I would get absolutely decimated at this point, but like
what would be your strategy?
The ultimate goal?
Well, if you were to fight Valentina, like if you had that fight coming, what would be your strategy?
Right now.
Yeah.
Currently?
Yeah, currently. What would be your strategy going into that fight?
I would be happy making it out of there alive, I think. with nothing broken or, you know, honestly, if I could fight Valentina like right now today and just leave there without anything broken, I think that's a fucking win. Like she's so good. And I have a theory that like she's actually just an assassin, and like being in the UFC is like a part-time hobby for her. Like it's not.
You're right. She got the look.
It's not a.
She got the
it's not a career.
Like every assassin movie you've ever seen, for Russian assassin movie you've ever seen, right?
That's because she makes it look so goddamn easy. There's really, like, even Nunes. I think she won. I think both of those fights. I'd have to go back and rewatch it, but I thought she fucking won. And I'm like, that's Nunes. That's the pound for pound best.
Yeah.
Who knocks everybody out. She couldn't knock out somebody that much smaller than her. Like Valentina couldn't be finished.
Yeah.
She's insane. She's next level.
Well, the thing about Valentina is, and it kind of, I guess it goes along with the, you know, that whole Russian aspect is every movement they have, a lot of times when you see a lot of these Russian fighters, it's like so calculated. She is so, like I said, she doesn't make any mistakes. Valentina doesn't make mistakes. I've never seen her make a mistake in
not a single one.
You know, and I mean, she's had some tough fights, but she doesn't make any mistakes. And the only losses she's had was to Nunes, I believe. And maybe I'm wrong, but I think those are the only two losses that she's had. I'm, like I said, I may be wrong. I'm trying to remember her record. I don't recall another one, but those are the two.
It's been a minute. If she lost to somebody else, it's been a minute.
No, it's been a while. It's been a while, and she's definitely a different fighter now. You know, as you get older and get better, she's gotten stronger and tougher, and even, you know, more perfect in her style than she was before. And I think that's what she does, though. She has such power and able to hit so hard, and her Muay Thai background is so strong that she just moves around the ring and she frustrates her opponent to making a mistake.
She makes them fight emotional, and she's not emotional. She could get, she's just doing the damn thing. So like when you fight emotional and you fight somebody who's not emotional, like they can see your gaps. You know, they can see the little holes you're leaving or the things you're biting on, and they can counter. You know, she sets you up for failure every time.
Yeah, no. And that's the thing. She frustrates you. She's playing a chess game the whole time, and you're basically the person who's going to try to solve that game. But, you know, a lot of times she's just so hard to pick up and so hard to solve that you get frustrated. Does she even
make a mistake? You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, that's the thing. I haven't seen her make any mistakes, to be honest.
Like, if you're a coach prepping your fighter to fight Valentina and you're watching tape to try to find a hole, is there one? You know?
You know what? I would say get her to the ground, and that's your best move.
I mean, it's your best chance, but shit, we've seen her on the ground. We've seen her take people down. It blows my mind.
Yeah, she's good on the ground too, but I think you have somewhat of a chance if you get her to the ground.
Better shot.
You don't have a shot if you stay on your feet. You just don't. I mean, I've not seen anybody better than her on the feet in the female divisions at all. Than her. I know,
and Joanna's 125, but even Joanna, you know,
no,
Valentina's just better.
She's just too damn good, you know, and that's the thing. But, you know, so your upcoming fight, and wait, before we even go there, and then we'll go there real quick. Aljamain Sterling, what about that, huh? You and I were texting back and forth. I'm sorry. I had to.
No, it's fine.
You and I were when that was going on, you and I were going back and forth, and I was like,
because what did he do? He just, like, you know what? He got control, but what did he do with it?
He rode his back for 2 rounds. He rode his back for 2 rounds. I thought he was going to strangle him at one point, but he was. As
far as things that happened in the fight, activity that happened, none of it was him. Yeah, like when he did get shit, he just kind of like hung on. And I mean, again, this is one of those things. He's the champ, you know. It's like, but I hate.
It's harder to take the belt from a champ on a decision. It's harder to take it on a decision. It's. That's what I'm saying. So you got to finish the fight.
And you see it all the time with champions. And I mean, fuck it, I can't say I would do anything different if I was a champion. But like, you see them just try to not lose. They're not trying to win. They're not trying to impress and be flashy anymore. They're just trying to keep their belt. And that's kind of how I feel like Tyrone Woodley was like one that did that. He was super exciting and explosive, and then he got the belt, and he kind of like just always did enough. He just did enough to not lose. So, and that's kind of how I feel about Aljo. I think he did the same thing. He just did enough to not lose the belt.
And don't get me wrong. I mean, Aljo's he's a great fighter. I've seen him fight, like, you know, and he's great at what he does. I mean, he's a legit black belt in jiu-jitsu. I mean, there's no doubt that he knows his shit there. But, you know, I mean, and here's the thing. I mean, there's arguments. People are going back and forth on this one as to who won that fight. A lot of people think Jan should have gotten 3 rounds out of that, the first and the fourth and fifth round. And I say, okay, even if you give Jan the first round, give it to him. I think second and third were 10-8. You know, I mean, I don't know. That's just my opinion. I think 10-8 rounds. He didn't really do nothing in those rounds, you know, but hey, the dog's chiming in. But, you know, I mean, hey, we have differences of opinions on this, and I know that. That's why I thought it was fun to bring it up.
And here's the thing. Again, I can't say that if I was a champion, I would do anything different. I very well might play it a little bit on the safer to keep my belt. I can't say that because I've never even been close to that, right? But it just, as a fan and a viewer, it sucks when that happens.
It wasn't a fun fight to watch. I mean, it really wasn't. It wasn't a lot of events happening in that fight. It wasn't like, you know, like I said, the only reason, like I said, it was, you know, I think you get to that point where it's like, you're right. They're trying to like just make sure that they do what they got to do to win the fight, you know, not necessarily, you know, just hang on to it, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, I really can't.
And I get it. That's a strategy. I mean, it's a strategy. I mean, when you're looking at fighting, it's all about strategy. Sometimes that's just it, you know, and that's what you do. You know, I mean, I could tell you some of the Khabib fights, you know, once he gets people to the ground, they're boring as hell to watch and that
was my thing with Khabib. It's not that he isn't the best. It's just that he's not the most entertaining. All the time.
Exciting. It's not exciting when you just got someone mauling somebody on the ground the whole time. It's really not. So your fight coming up. When is that? When are you fighting?
May 6th at the Cable Dahmer Arena in Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay. All right.
It was supposed to, and I wish that it would have panned out this way. And I mean, much respect to my opponent. I was actually trying to fight on March 25th in Cedar Rapids, Iowa on the Caged Aggression card because it was a year to date from the last time I fought in the same exact place on the same day. Okay. So like, to me, that like was just like a good omen, right? Like I won that fight. I won it injured, and you know, it's the exact time and place I left, and I'm coming back. So to me, like I really wanted that. And she stepped up. Like he tried to find me opponents. People were flat out just not replying to him. Like they would read it and not even answer. Okay. So this girl, Julie Russell, took the fight. She was like, yeah, I'll do it. She wanted it at 120, which would have been tough because I was on track for 125 and it was getting closer to the date. And somehow, I don't know, it didn't pan out. Like it wasn't on her. It wasn't on me. It was on the promoter. I don't know. Maybe he does 3-night cards. So I'm assuming he just had a ton going on and just didn't fit it in there, but she stuck with me. Her managers took us to FAC, which is like their card in their hometown. She's from Krause's gym. So she stuck with me the whole time. Like she was going to be my opponent for that. And then we were like, well, we're not hearing back. So why don't we just take this, you know, to the next card over? And I mean, she stuck with me. I know. And she's going through some shit too. I had the move and all that, but I mean, her brother passed away at the beginning of her camp. So
that sucks.
And she's still sticking with this. And I'm going to assume she's coming with, you know, a purpose now. She's going to come in hard now. Cause it's, you know, when you have something like that, you want to come in and you want to, you know, do it for them. Yeah, exactly. So she's going to come in hot. Yeah. You know, so I'm expecting it. You just got to have your A game on and you probably, you know, I think you will. I mean, you know, you said camp's going well. You're feeling good. You're feeling strong. You got a good team around you. I'm sure you got a good corner coming in with you. You know, you got a good dog there shouting some support, you know, but, you know, I think I'm going to be watching. Where can people see the fight? So I actually do have to figure this out because I believe that the last time it was on YouTube Live, like you could just go to the FAC page and you could just YouTube Live the thing. They didn't cost money or anything like that. You just got to tune in. Cool. People keep telling me it's on UFC Fight Pass, but if I remember correctly, last time they said that also, but that was just for the main card. That wasn't us. Yeah. So I'll have to look into that. And I'll make a post on my Instagram. I haven't been very vocal about this fight because I just with the reasons that I left my last place and came here and all that. I just been kind of keeping to myself and laying low. So I realize I haven't been on top of like kind of advertising and promoting myself the way that I do, but it was just a choice I made. I felt like it was what was best for me.
Sometimes let things
just get a little quiet.
Sometimes let things promote themselves. That's sometimes just let the fight speak for itself. And I know this is going to be your last amateur fight.
Yep, come hell or high water. I don't give a shit. Like, obviously, I give a shit about the outcome, but like, regardless of the outcome, the next one's pro.
Okay, I think that's a good move. So, you've been amateur enough. You've had enough amateur fights. And I think you've had 10 amateur fights. As
of right now, 10 amateur fights. But it's like I'm always like, okay, we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna go pro, and then I have a surgery, and I don't want to go pro off of surgery. Yeah. And I've been told that that's all just in my head, but I don't care. It's how I feel. I don't want to go pro off of surgery. I want to make sure I'm pieced together correctly before I, before the wins and losses matter. Right. Yeah, so. Yeah.
No, and I think you go when you're ready. I mean, that's that. You're the only one who's going to know when you're ready. And if you're ready at this point after this fight, come hell or high water, you go pro. I mean, that's it. Yeah. And I think, you have been an amateur long enough. I mean, you've been fighting amateur for a long time.
6 years.
Yeah. It's time to move on. I think it's time, and get out there and now let's play the real game. Right. It's what it comes down.
Yep. And I'm excited to do it. Honestly, I'm not even hesitant in the least. And I don't see, regardless of the outcome, I don't see that changing. Like, even if I should happen to not win this, right? I don't see it affecting my mentality about it at all. Like, this is honestly the only reason I'm doing one more amateur fight is because I've been out for a little over a year. I did have 3 neck surgeries in the time of like 4 months. Yep. So that's the only reason I'm doing one more, period. We were already supposed to go pro a while ago. So, I really this is just the decision I've made. I appreciate 1,000,000% having an opponent with more experience than me to kind of like kick that off though. She's 8-6. I'm 5-5. It's a great matchup. I'm bummed it has to be at 120. Obviously I don't like being little, but that was what she wanted. And honestly, to just get that kind of skill level, to not be fighting people who are like 1-4 or 2-1, like to just get somebody who's been there as long as I have.
Yeah.
Is awesome. I have so much respect for her for taking this and keeping it regardless of everything she's been going through. Yeah. And I'm pumped that she's going to be my last amateur fight.
Awesome. Well, hey, I wish you the best. I'm supportive and I want to see you do well. And I can't wait to support your pro career as well. You and I have been, you've been on the show, I think 3 or 4 times at this point.
Something like that.
Maybe more. I don't even know. I don't even know how many times you've been on, but
it's probably been about 4.
Yeah, I think 4, cause you came on with me and Ray as well at one point and, who's another one I got to get back on, but Ray's so busy these days. He's hard to get on. But it's definitely a pleasure, supporting you and having you on. I always enjoy our conversations. I love the rants. They're always fun.
There's a group for it, right? Because a lot of people probably turn those on and they're just like, Jesus Christ. And then there's like the small people that are like, fuck yeah, what's Rachel pissed off about today? And you want to know what? I do it for them.
I you got to take the temperature once in a while. Like, what the hell's Rachel doing? Oh, she's pissed off about this today. Okay, cool.
Yeah. And if you don't care, don't fucking watch it. That's the beauty of the world,
That's it. I think it's awesome, but thanks so much for coming on again. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
I will be definitely watching that fight. So actually the night before I get back on the boat and go back out and play with my sharks. So,
God, that's awesome.
Yeah, we have fun. I get to feed some of the biggest tiger sharks out in the ocean, which is a lot of fun. So I'll be out there. I think I'm going out the 7th through the 13th. I think that we're out sea. But, I'll be checking out the fight the night before and, wishing you the best. And I know you're going to do great. So keep it up. And, we'll get you on again. I'm sure you'll be on again soon. So, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. And thanks. I'll make a post when I figure out how you can watch it. And if you want to share that.
Make sure you do, because I'll definitely share it. I'll put it out there. And, I want to make sure people support you as well. So, and and
I obviously always appreciate the support. I mean, this like, we are nothing without people watching us.
That's it. Yeah, you got to have the audience. Otherwise, there's no fights. So then they're just backyard scraps. That's all they are. Without
and no one's gonna pay you for nobody to be watching. So
no, exactly. So good luck to you. Awesome talking to you again, Rachel, and be good. And I will let you know as soon as this goes up.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Be good.